Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, Sigvald here, and welcome back to another video. I got a little bit of a new haircut because my hair was acting up a bit, as you might have been able to tell in the previous videos. And in this one, we're going to talk about PvP in Injustice 2 Mobile. The first question of every player, I mean not of every player, of every player that's at least as dumb or hopeful as myself. It depends how you want to look at things. Is there real-time PvP in Arena? Am I shitting on real people over here? Am I that good at the game? And the quickest answer that you'll eventually find yourself is nope. No real-time PvP in Arena. There is no real-time PvP in the game currently, and this video is going to kind of explain why it's most likely never going to happen, because it's most likely impossible to implement in the first place. First up, the game is not built for direct player interaction. Like, the closest thing we got in the game to direct player interaction is going to be the leagues. The league store, league store not really, because you're not really interacting with other players, but the league donations and the league rates. The league donations are going to have loading times, and the whole league menu is going to have loading times that are basically 10 times longer than any loading times in the game. So the game is already acting up in that regard. And the fights, you're not even gonna get the damage that you do seen by other players in real time, but rather after you finish doing the damage is going to register. And you can even exploit the system. For example, there's people who are going to one-shot phase 3 to phase 4, and then they are going to wait for people to do their damage in phase 3 and pause the game so that they get their damage registered, so that they don't get a bug because the raid is finished, and then they're going to unpause their game and actually finish the raid. It's at that point with the player interaction where the most minimum interaction between players is going to be heavily exploitable, heavily buggy, and the game is gonna poop itself to even do that. Next up, the game is not balanced around it. Like, individual characters alone we're going to talk about here, because don't even think about team interactions. We're gonna get the team interactions, the tag-ins, all that stuff even out of the equation, because if that was in the equation, we wouldn't even be worth making this argument. We're going to talk about 1v1 between players with only one character each. So 1v1 with 1v1 characters, pretty much. And we're going to, first of all, remove all the characters with infinite combos in the game, because obviously you wouldn't have a good experience if you get into the fight and there's literally nothing you can do because the enemies got you into an infinite combo, and you're just gonna watch as your character dies without you being able to do anything. So infinite combo characters are going to be removed. Then we're going to remove all the unfair characters to fight against. For example, Collector vs Superman Special 2 is going to make it's going to make the enemy not able to damage him and damage themselves in return, and it's low enough power to the point where you can just spam that. So all the characters that are going to be like that, and it can be a short or long list depending on everyone's opinion, and if this list would be made, those characters would be removed. There would be people that would be unhappy with this, like, I think this character was fair to use but it got removed, and people like, oh, like half of the characters that you can use should also be on the unfair to fight against list. Now, remove all the characters that are useless without team interactions. Or not really, but they're gonna be not really picked because they're not great. For example, Harvick Harley Quinn or Let's Have the Joker without the dot from the League of Anarchy are not gonna do as great. Next up, remove all the reflective shield characters, because this would be the most annoying mechanic in the game. And what are we even left with at this point? And I didn't even mention the artifacts, and God forsake they even think to add the artifacts, because it would make it pay to win and 10 times harder to balance. But there is a possibility for this to be implemented. There might be a way for this to actually be implemented. And this is assuming the first point will not stand and the servers can actually handle player-to-player interaction. This is assuming that. So assuming my first point is invalid and I don't know what I'm talking about, and Injustice 2 Mobile is the best built game to have a PvP system and to support player versus player interaction, there would be a way to balance it. you're going to go ahead and introduce a very small selection of characters that you're going to do your best to balance for that game mode. Not necessarily balance in all regards, like nerf them or buff them for league raids and soul raids, but make them a specific version of themselves for that mode specifically. Next up, you're not going to get your character to play with, but a maxed out copy of your character, but you have to own it in order to pick it. For example, you want to use, let's say, Cheetah in that game mode, you need to have Cheetah unlocked. And if you have Cheetah unlocked, you'll be able to pick up a 7-star Cheetah with maxed out gears, right? So that everybody gets kind of the same blanket of characters and the same maxing out of the characters. And this does indeed reduce the variety that you're gonna get, but it makes it fair. And each player is going to get to ban 2 characters of their choice out of the selection of characters that are available to be used in PvP, and then they're going to pick their character, and the choices of both players will be revealed only as you enter in the fights. So yet again, if the servers hold this regard of interaction, this extent of interaction, it is in theory possible, but it's never gonna happen, because what I just described, even though yet again it might as well be indeed impossible, if it is possible, it's going to require an enormous amount of work, an enormous amount of balancing, and everything will be for pretty much nothing, because they're not really gonna profit from this game mode. And this kind of ties back to the bad monetization system of the game. For example, if you were gonna monetize this game, you would need certain skins for characters. So rather than releasing like 7 versions of Batman, out of which 2 of them or 3 of them at best are useful, they could have put skins in the game for you to put on your Batman and make sure that one Batman that you get, but with different skins, is going to be useful and good. But yeah, sadly, it's far too late for that, and it is far too late for a PvP mode, and is most likely never gonna happen. So if you're thinking Arena of Champions Arena was PvP, no, it is not. If you're hoping for in the future getting a PvP mode in this game, it's gonna be real rough. And it's 99.99% never gonna happen. And kind of most of the reasoning, mainly the second reasoning in regards to balancing the characters, makes it very hard for them to come up with new ideas and add new things into the game. Because every single time they're gonna run into the problem, well, we have this bunch of 100 something characters that we never intended to balance for this type of game modes in the first place. So I guess if they work for Arena and Champions Arena, they could work for survival mode. If they work for raids and soul raids and they're not broken, they could work for raids or soul raids, similar game modes. So other game modes might come to the game. They are possible to implement. But a PvP mode, nah bro, I'm sorry, that's simply never gonna happen. But yeah, all that being said, thanks so much for watching. Like if you liked it, dislike if you disliked it, and I'll see you all in the next one. And let me know in the comments what you think about this, and if you would like PvP in this game, even though it's most likely never gonna happen. But yeah, goodbye!